So hey everyone, I'm just doing a quick video today because I'm currently in the process of swapping over my internet to a faster speed and a different provider because I've been having so many difficulties with my current provider. So I've decided to do, well, as quick as I can, a bit of a comparison video between the coloured pencils I've got, going from like the basic pencils all the way through to the Prismacolor and Polychromos. As you can see here, I've got a list of all the different types of pencils, and I will show you the packets before I do each one. But yeah, I figured I would do a quick swap, a quick comparison between them, and eventually I will review, and a bit of a review, I guess, at the same time. As for, like, with the internet, like, I've been having issues with my provider, as I said, so I'm in the process of swapping. But the good news with that is I will have faster speed, and I may be able to live stream sometimes, which would be awesome to be able to live stream and talk to you all whilst I'm colouring and working along it and answer your questions and stuff as we go. And we can work on it together from start to finish kind of thing. So that will be totally awesome. So I'm basically going from like 12 megabytes per second download and 1 megabyte per second upload to like closer to 50 megabytes per second download and 20 megabytes per second upload, which means that yes, if I can work it out, I will have more capabilities and possibilities to live stream. But yes, since we need to keep this shorter, I guess we should get going on this comparison / review, just because, well, yeah, the internet's being swapped over sometime in the next week, so I need to be able to get it uploaded quicker than 4 days, which is how long it's been taking lately, which is annoying me to no end, and it's why I swapped. So yes, what we're going to start with, we're going to do like orange, purple, red, yellow shades for each of the comparisons, because looking at the simpler colours, they didn't have necessarily the range of the other colours, and so I decided to go with the colours I knew were set in every set, that like even the cheap 12-pack sets, like the Big Kids Evolution Circus Pack, I noticed I was going to go greens, but then I realised this doesn't have, it only has like one green, one brown, and so I figured, well, better to go with the red, purple, orange, yellow, and then we will do it. But yeah, so this is our first one we're going to show. This is the Big Kids Evolution. It's just a basic pack for school kids kind of thing. But yeah, as I said, I wanted to, I guess, incorporate some more of the basic-ish pencils, and this is what they look like in general. So they're kind of mixed between green and yellow leads, kind of green and yellow pencil bases. So what we're going to do, we're going to start over here with that Big Kids Evolution. We're just going to do these small circles, and we're going to just shade in them, see how they blend, that sort of thing. So we're going to start with our purple or pink. I've picked as close to possible as I can for each of the shades. And we're just going to choose, so I'm going to have light sources coming from this way for these ones, and we're just going to see how they blend, how it works kind of thing, going darker to lighter, all of that. Test the comparison between the artist pencils and the others, if they sort of, shall we say, what is it, kind of smudge onto the paper page or not. Like, say you're doing the colours, and you know how sometimes the colours decide to smudge onto the paper as you're going kind of thing, so you end up with basically like a coloured background even though you haven't done the background yet, those kinds of things. I want to see, just by smudging it with different fingers, if that does cause that issue or not. So yeah, we just want to test between those, how they blend, the difference in the colour contrast, colour variations, all of those sorts of things as we go. So I can't really zoom it in so easy because I'll zoom it in. No, I can't really zoom it in that easy just because of the fact that I'm just making sure it's focused. Just because of the fact that I'm using my A3 art pad, and it makes it a little difficult to zoom in / out, shall we say, because I've got them spread across the art pad. So yeah, my apologies about that, but it's kind of what I can do, I guess. So I'm just seeing, basically want to test how they blend as depending on the different things as you sort of, I guess, upgrade and get to the higher quality pencils, but also show that you can get decent results from the cheaper pencils, shall we say. So I just want to see. Yeah, no. The thing is here, see, because the yellow is just going there, it seems to be, oops, my hand was in the way, sorry. I was trying to work on it. The yellow seems to be leaving a bit of a easy to see shadow line there for me. I will try bringing it up closer once we're done to zoom in and show it all, but I'm sort of just, shall we say, doing the best I can for what I've got kind of thing. So just because I know it would be better being zoomed right in to see them, but unfortunately just with this one and the fact that I can't move it because it's going to bump the tripod and all of that, that I kind of have to leave it where it is. So yeah. So yes, from what I can see with the Big Kids Evolution, and we'll go over more of this in general once it's done, it does leave smudging outside the lines, so you can see colour transfer onto the areas of the page where you didn't want it. Also, the blending lines are kind of not so great. The colour transfer, it doesn't look bad, but the red does overtake a lot of the purple, which I guess is to be expected considering we're blending on top of each other. But you can see, even though we've done our blending graduations, you can see where the lines cut off and change. So probably what I'll do, rather than going over all this now, I'll go over it once we've done everyone because I need to move it along kind of thing. So next one is Big Kids Tropicolours that we're going to test. Just move those out the way. So we've got same colour schemes, and we're going to just test that, starting with our purple, doing our light shades in the same direction, testing how the colour layout goes down, how dark it goes down, how light the line graduations, all of that as we did before. But we will kind of wait till the very end to compare everything because of this. And sorry, my hand's in the way, I didn't realise that. I keep trying to keep it out of the way, but it's hard because of the way I colour it. I automatically go to do that and then I realise it's in the way of the camera. So, try to do the best I can, but depending on the angle and stuff, it does make it a little hard to do certain, shall we say, angles for colouring it and not having my hand in the way and stuff. So I do the best I can, but yeah. Because see, this way that I'm trying to do it now feels very awkward and wobbly to me. So I tend to get my hand right up across it kind of thing. Because this way just, yeah, I feel like I'm wobbling the whole time. With the way I'm holding the pencil, I need to get right up in like this. And I guess everyone learns a different way to colour. This is just the way that I do it. So I'll aim to stop and pause in between. But yeah, I'll do the best I can anyway. So next we're coming in with our orange. We've done our red over the purple. Now we want to come in with our orange. We want to blend that over the top of all the colours. We're just doing it the same for everything. So we're just blending each and every colour on top of the other colours, pretty much. And then we're going to come in with yellows. So probably what I'll do, I'll just keep doing these bits and then I will just talk in between. I've got music playing in the background, so I'm not sure, hopefully the camera's picking up on that. But yes, so we'll just keep going like this with the things. And then we will do our whole comparison and review against them after. I'm just checking to see if it smudges out the lines onto the paper colour, and yes it does. So yeah, keep doing this. Next we're going to come in with our Faber-Castell tricolour pencils. And this is a 24 pack. These out of the way, so I've got heaps of pencils laid out all over here. So yeah, and then we just do that the same again. So I'm just curious to look at this in the end and see. I know I've done a bit of one before, but that was before I had the polychromos, and I'm just interested to look at them again, I guess on a bit of a smaller scale, see just how they do, how the colour layout, like maybe I'll have a different opinion this time. I can't remember what my opinion was last time. But yeah, I guess we'll see at the end how well they do. This one, the colour seems to be coming out so nicely. Like the other ones you had to press quite hard, but this one the colour just seems to be laying itself out there really nice and easy. Like it's just, I don't feel like I'm pressing quite as hard, and it just feels like the colour's just, shall we say, being really nice and just laying out pretty smooth, and mostly it looks like it's blending quite easy. As said though, we will have a look later, but this one does seem to be being a lot sort of, it does feel like a nicer pencil to work with. Now we're going to come in with our Faber-Castell Classics. So this is them. It's 48 set. And I'm just going with what pencils I have. I'm not combining not comparing them against any other pencils that I don't have, shall we say. These Faber-Castell ones seem to be laying out a lot nicer than the hard Bic ones. I just feel like I'm not having to put as much pressure through them to get the colour depth that I want out of them. Next, and I still haven't fully learnt how to use these, which is why I haven't done a video yet. We're going to go with Magic Koh-i-Noor, but we're going to try with just the one pencil and see how we can go with the shades. I'm still not totally practiced with this. I still haven't fully worked out how to use these, which is why there's been no video yet. It's actually quite tricky to work out how to use these pencils, but we're going to try Magic Koh-i-Noor here with the one pencil, see if we can get the shade area that we want. I'm not sure if I'll manage it or not, because as I said, I'm still kind of learning these. Yeah, I've done a pretty lousy job at getting that to work, shall we say. As I said, I'm still learning these. Yes, I've done. You can see the differences in the colours through it, but yeah, pretty lousy job. So yeah, but it's just to get an idea of the fact that the Koh-i-Noor, if you can work it out properly, you can get those different colour blends with the one pencil. So next, we're going to come in with our Derwent watercolour, and this is just basically testing kind of thing. It's just a 12 set. I will hopefully have a 12 set of Pro Colour to test in a bit, but I don't yet, so. And if I really like that 12 set, then that'll probably be on my pencil wish list again. So yeah, next is testing Derwent watercolour, and we got our pencils here. We also have our water and brush to test these. So we just really want to, and I don't have an exact purple, so I'm using Crimson Lake instead as the blend in this lot. So this is just to test how they sort of come out, how they look once wet kind of thing, and how they blend and all of that. Like, I could just do it as a dry mix, yes, but I kind of wanted to add in like my Inktense and these watercolor ones and see just how they kind of compare once watered down with the other colors, depending on the type of effect you're looking for, just to see what type of effect or image that'd be good for, kind of thing, shall we say. And these ones are laying down so easy. I can just feel it's like butter on the paper with the way the watercolours are laying out. It does, it feels like sort of like you're just doing butter on the paper. Looks like the Koh-i-Noor don't leave so much smudging. Faber-Castell Classic, I think they do leave a bit. These ones, when not wet, do smudge. So now let's test and see how they blend into each other. So we don't want to overly soak our water brush, and it looks like I've got dog hair in my water jar again. My dog likes to molt. Let's just say that. So now we're going to come in with these. We're going to see how dark they stay or how light they stay. They seem to do quite a good job of blending in to each other. Then we have our differrent Studio pencils, which this is a set I've had for many, many years. So that's why the cover looks so old, shall we say. And here they are here. Let's straighten that out. Different Studio, so doing the same with everything else. We just want to do it similar to everything else so that we can see kind of the differences and have a bit of a look back over the different colours and just see how they sort of work in the end. I was hoping to do this with the Pro colours as well from different Studio, but unfortunately I don't have them yet, so yeah. Unfortunate, but that's life. In the way again. Sorry, I just find it really awkward colouring this way kind of thing. These ones definitely feel a lot harder than the watercolour. But they are blending in really well to each other. Next we have our differrent Inktense, which again is water pencils. So we're going to do the same with these. And this is the Inktense pack that I've got. So just different Inktense 72 pack. And these ones are quite soft to put down, lay down on the paper too. And it looks like I've still got black colours in it from using it on other colours or things. Colours can go back there. Sorry, just quickly putting colours back in the spots where didn't have the colours. I have to check. I think there was some of the Differrent Studio ones that were from another set, but I'll have to look at that after. So yes, we'll quickly do this with the water and then we'll come back and do our Prismacolor and Polychromos and a bit of a review once this is done, because the battery's nearly out kind of thing. So we're just blending in our ink tints, and the great thing with these compared to the watercolors is that once they are dry, they're permanent, and they do seem to provide a lot more vibrant color than the watercolor by the looks of it. So yeah, I might pause it there for a minute and then I will come back and we'll do our Prismacolor and Polychromos, and we'll do a bit of a review comparing them all. So I'll be back in a minute. So hey everyone, I'm back. We're back here to do, well, as said, I'd come back and do Prismacolor and Faber-Castell. I just packed away all the other pencils because it was going everywhere and it was a bombshell, so I quickly packed away all the other pencils into my drawer again. So the first colour we're going to test here is the Prismacolor, which, as you can see here, I have the 150 set. So that's the first ones we're going to test. And like Differrent Studio ink tints are going on artist colours, but I'm curious to see the difference between the Prismacolor and the Polychromos mix with them. So, and see like if there's smudging. Like obviously there's smudging with most of these, even though Magic Koh-i-Noor has a bit of smudging, and as you could tell I couldn't get it to blend properly or wet properly, so yeah. So we're going to start here with a magenta. Let's shift those off for a minute. And these circles aren't even by any means. They're just quick circles I drew. So Prismacolor, and yes, it does smudge on the paper. I'll be curious to see about the polychromos because I haven't noticed that it says they're smudge resistant. So, and from what I tested with the grayscale image I was doing, it seems like that's actually the case. So I'm curious to see here when we're doing our tests. Whoops, and I just drew on the page. Good one, me. So I was holding the pencil in the finger as I did this and I drew on there. Well, so this is the Faber-Castell 120 Polychromos tin. Obviously, I couldn't get the wood box set, unfortunately. But still, it's great to have them. Better than not. So we're just going to use the same sort of shades as Prismacolor. These do go on really, really nicely. Like, I've even noticed the Faber-Castell Classic and the Tricolors, even they went on quite nicely with the colour, how hard the colour of the pencil was and all of that. So, be interesting to see the differences. I'm obviously not trying to blend these quite as well as I usually do at the minute, just because it's just a quick comparison kind of thing. Like, I'm still blending them well, but just not as particular as I usually would. And I've just chosen shades that are kind of similar to what the others have. But it's showing you just how different the different shades that say they're the same in different companies can be. So obviously the magenta in Polychromos is completely different to the magenta in Prismacolor from what you can see here. So yeah, that's how different shades. I can tell even a difference between the colour depths in Prismacolor and Polychromos. There's quite a difference. Maybe it's the fact the magentas are slightly different tones, like this is more a pinky reddy and this is more a purpley magenta. That could be part of it. And like the reds, I don't know that I picked permanent red for both. No, I picked deep scarlet red for that one. So the colours aren't exactly the same because I wasn't picky, I just picked out whichever colours were kind of similar. But now go and look at it. As you can tell, like, you still can get decent effects from these like the kids pencils, the more student pencils over artist pencils. So oh yeah, depending, I guess Polychromos does smudge depending on the amount of layers or whatever you got on there. So it seems like all of them have some slight smudge factor to colouring the page if you're rubbing your hand over it as you colour, obviously. Obviously that wouldn't necessarily come across if you're not rubbing your hand over it. Maybe the reason why I didn't see the Polychromos on this other image, which I will just get the book here. But this is one that I've shown you in the past that I was working on. But I I had no colour transfer that I noticed whatsoever onto the pages as I was doing it. As you can see, there's no shading of blues or anything in here. I didn't have to rub anything out. I pretty much just worked on it, but I was using this sort of cloth thing, and as you can tell, it does have a bit of, well, I don't know, you can see it on there, but kind of those grey marks of pencil colour that's rubbed off, so that might have been picking up pencil colour as I did it too, who knows. But yeah, on this one I didn't actually notice colour transfer as obvious as it could have been, I guess. So that is one difference, like with the polychromos, that I noticed. Prismacolor, even using those cloths, I still notice colour markings from the colour as you're colouring it on the white pieces of paper where you may not necessarily want it. Derwent Inktense, obviously that's a permanent watercolour, so it doesn't rub off once you got it coloured. Watercolour too, although watercolour you can wet it again and go over that. I did notice these two were quite soft pencils. They went on quite easily onto the paper. Obviously Derwent Inktense being ink is a deeper colour than the watercolour. Obviously watercolour is more meant to be faded out, duller than Inktense. Inktense is meant to be more vibrant, deep colours. Derwent Studio pencils, I found they were actually quite hard, quite firm. They did blend well. They are considered an artist pencil, but they're more, I guess, not in the range of the costs of Prismacolor and Polychromos, which are $200, $300. These are more around $100 range, so I guess they're more mid-market artist pencils from what I'm seeing here. And I notice the colour doesn't seem nearly as vibrant as Inktense, Prismacolor or Polychromos. Watercolour, well, as I said, obviously that's fainter because it's watercolour, it's meant to be washed out kind of thing. The Magic Kohinoor, I can definitely see the use of those if I can work out how to get them actually working, because right now I am kind of quite stumped as to how to get the dark on one side, the light on the other. As you can see here, it just ended up all blended into one. The Faber-Castell Classic and Tricolour, they actually really surprised me. Not just for the fact that they were soft and easy to apply, but for the fact that you're getting quite deep depths of colour there, and you didn't have to press really, really hard to achieve it. Like, I look at those compared to the Derwent Studio, and I reckon they could possibly have even more colour depth than the Derwent Studio here, from what I'm seeing there. They look quite rich in the colour. They're soft, they're easy to apply, nice to use, and they just went on really well. As for the blending sort of thing, it's a bit sort of, maybe you could get it more perfected without sort of, shall we say, rushing into it, but I think in the blending aspect, the Derwent Studio is slightly better with the blending aspect. Polychromos and Prismacolor both blended pretty well. I almost think possibly even got a better blending with the Polychromos, just from sort of the look of it. It looks like it blends in a little more naturally. Like the Prismacolor, yes, you got a very good blending thing in it, as you've seen with my videos where I use the Prismacolor. You get really, really good blending mix if you do it right. Like, I find doing it from dark to light gets a really good blend in the Prismacolor. But looking at it here next to the Polychromos, I am thinking the Polychromos possibly step that up just a little bit more and just give a little more depth and richness and colour to the image, like more shadow sort of colour depth, blending it. Just looking at the Polychromos versus Prismacolor, I'm thinking the Polychromos, even though it is about $100 in Australia more expensive than Prismacolor, it does look like it does create that step up again from the Prismacolor. So I sort of think maybe the polychromos sort of are slightly better than the Prismacolor in this aspect. Like, I guess it depends on what you're doing. Like, I'm sure I'll still use Prismacolor because I can get amazing effects from those. But polychromos, as I've done with this grayscale image that I showed you just before, and another one, you can get very good blending, and it will actually cover up grayscale kind of thing. Like, this was a grayscale image. As you look at it here, you can't tell that that was a grayscale image. So I'm thinking polychromos is probably another step up again from Prismacolor, from what I am looking at here. Obviously the watercolors and the ink tints in blending aspects, both are very good in the blending aspects because you're using the water to blend the colors. And as said, there is a difference in color depth because ink tints are meant to be more vibrant and watercolors meant to be duller. Then between, I would say, the Bic Kids Evolution and Tropicolors, they aren't the greatest for blending. The leads are very hard. Colour depth you can get's okay, but I reckon it's slightly fainter. The Evolution ones I reckon slightly fainter than the Tropicolors. But I reckon they're sort of, whilst they're good for starting out kind of thing, and I can see the use of them and I can see how you can get some depth and stuff in them, I would say if you have a choice between the Bic and the Faber-Castell, say if you're here in Australia, I would say go for the Faber-Castell because they're a lot softer, they're a lot easier to use, they lay down well. Like, yes, the layering isn't quite as good as the higher level pencils, which is obviously the watercolor, the Derwent, Prismacolor and Polychromos from what I've got, because they're all sort of $100 up, so I'm considering from about that mark, like, shall we say, like the higher level pencils, these ones are all under $50 kind of thing. The Magic Koh-i-Noor is kind of 70 or 80 I think, so if you can get it to work correctly it would be very, very good because you only need one pencil to do all the shaded colours. But so I'm basically classifying the Derwent watercolour up sort of more the artist range, just going by cost, like mid artist range to top artist range, obviously we're going by with those. But yeah, I would say out of these, like, I would say I will do some colour alongs, but I notice these ones in regards to shading, shadowing, it's not as good as you'd get with the higher quality pencils. Obviously the colour depth you can get is still good, and the colour range you can get is still good. Leads are very hard and it's quite hard on your hand. If you want that colour depth you do have to press quite hard. Then we go to the Faber-Castell Tricolour and Classic. I would say both of these are quite good. The Classic seems to have slightly more colour depth in my opinion to it than the Tricolour. Obviously still not quite as good with the blending side of things, but they are very soft pencils. They're quite easy to use, they're not hard, and they do give you good colour depth without having to press it as hard kind of thing. Magic Koh-i-Noor, very difficult pencil to use, and as you can see I still don't have it down, but it would be very useful if you were able to work out how to do that correctly, and it seems to be to do with the way you move the pencil and all of that, which I haven't worked out yet. Watercolour and ink tints, obviously both very good. If you want pale colours with the watercolour, you can obviously use the watercolour. If you want richer colours you use the ink tints. I wouldn't recommend using both together because the watercolour you can wet and smudge again, ink tints you can't, and that is one thing I find very good about the ink tints, is that I can layer 3 or 4 layers on top of the ink tints, building up the depth and colours and variations without shall we say, needing to, or smudging the under. So I'm sorry about that everyone, my camera battery died, but what I was saying with the Inktense, without need for smudging and stuff with the watercolour, that's one thing I find an advantage with the Inktense, is the fact that you don't have that smudging if you want to lay another layer on top of it, whereas the watercolour you would kind of just mix their colours in together and make a muddy look. Inktense, you can avoid that by adding multiple colours. Also the fact the blending is obviously good when you're using water. As I'll show you here though, this is one I was just playing around with the Inktense, and this has like 7 or 8 different colour layers in it. Obviously you wouldn't get this with the watercolour. The watercolour would just basically, shall we say, smudge out. It would turn into mud sort of colours. So in that aspect I find Inktense is very, very good for the fact that you are able to build up layer upon layer upon layer on top of each other without too much work and without it sort of smudging and just turning into goop look. Obviously Differrent Studio, it blends well together, but it is a bit paler with the colour depth. It is considered artist quality, but it doesn't have, like with a lot of these colours, the light fastness rating too. There is a lot of, except for the Polychromos, which has the odd low light fastness pencil in it, all the other pencils don't have good light fast ratings. Some okay light fast ratings, like say for landscapes or greens or browns or those sorts of colours. Some of what I've looked at are good light fast ratings, but a lot don't have very good light fastness ratings. So if you were doing a commission piece, you wouldn't necessarily want to use those for the commission piece, because there would be the chance of it fading out when someone's paid you for that work, and you don't necessarily want the piece you've had paid for to fade out or look lousy in a year or less after you've done it. So in that case, with the light fastness ratings, I would say Polychromos are the best from what I've looked at. It actually comes with a booklet in there, and it tells you the high light fast ratings, the medium light fast ratings, and the low light fast ratings. There is very few low light fast ratings in Polychromos. But yes, so as we're saying with the Differrent Studio, it is kind of a bit paler in colour. If you want a deeper depth, you have to press very hard because the pencils are quite hard. They are oil based. Inktense I think is ink based. Watercolour I'm not sure. Magic Cohen, or I think is wax. I am not sure if these ones are wax or oil. This one might be oil because it's hard. This one might be wax. I am not sure. I think Polychromos is oil and Prismacolor is wax. As for going up next to the Prismacolor and Polychromos, obviously you can see both blend very well. Obviously both are slightly different with the colour depths and stuff that you're using in there. But if I had to choose between one for, say, a commission piece or doing a piece for someone else that's going to be hung on the wall where it could be receiving light, I would choose Polychromos over Prismacolor because of the fact that Polychromos do have that light fast rating. That would be a big factor between using them to do pieces for other people. So in that aspect, I am very excited to have the Polychromos because of the fact that it does have that light fastness rating, which Prismacolor doesn't. Another difference between Polychromos and Prismacolor, I do notice Prismacolor does tend to get quite a lot of lead breakage, particularly if you accidentally drop it. I have had pencils like my black pencil, which you've seen in the videos. I lost quite a lot of that due to lead breakage. Polychromos, I've accidentally dropped them, but I haven't had a single lead breakage yet. So there obviously is a slight difference in the quality or the way they're made. Obviously these cheaper pencils are going to be made better, but obviously they still have some faults. I have a Differrent Studio pencil, which for some reason the whole wood's breaking, the lead's breaking constantly. So obviously there are going to be faults that get through in each of the different coloured pencils. You kind of can't avoid that, I guess. But as for the colour depth and polychromos, I would say polychromos, Inktense and Prismacolor, I would say are all very good for colour depth. For colouring in your colouring books, I would say go with either Prismacolor, Polychromos, or any of these. If you can't afford Prismacolor or Polychromos, I would say if you can afford Derwent, I would say look at getting some Derwent Studio pencils. I don't have the Artist Derwent pencils, so I can't say the difference between those and the Studio. I know they're both meant to be artist quality, and I guess that's a good mid-range stepping stone to the Prismacolor Polychromos. If you're just starting out and you're not sure you're going to keep going, maybe try the Faber-Castell Tricolor Classic, because that's a good stepping stone. And if you're very advanced and able to work out the magic Kohinoor, then go with them. But either way, I would say the Prismacolor and Polychromos are both very good. Obviously, the pencil colours are made slightly different, so Polychromos seems to have more depth. Prismacolor seems to have like a lot of brighter colours, like it's a 150 set, Polychromos is 120. But I find if I had to choose to do a commission piece, it would be Polychromos over the Prismacolor because of that light fastness rating. But as for just using it in a colouring book, I would say either or either is very good. Both blend well, both give out colour well, both just, I guess in my case, I really like both. I really like my Derwent Inktense Studio pencils too. I haven't really used the watercolour yet. That's the first time I've actually opened that pack and tested them. So I don't know exactly how they would work with an image yet. That's something I've got to play around with in the future. But as for Studio and Inktense, I would say both are good, but you're not going to get that colour depth that I have noticed since I've gotten my Prismacolor and my Polychromos over the last year and a bit. Because I think it was 2017 I got Polychromos for birthday and Christmas. 2016 I think I got the Prismacolor for birthday and Christmas, but I intend on still using a mix of all different types for my channel, like mixing up Prismacolor, Polychromos, mixing up Studio, Inktense, watercolor, because I want to have a range of those different things on the channel, so people who may not have the more expensive pencils can still colour along and do stuff and use I guess the student pencils or whatever they can afford kind of thing. Because obviously you can still get good colours and stuff. You may not get quite as good shading, but overall I would say these are actually, in my opinion, quite good. I don't know how to say it, but basically quite good if you aren't able to get these mid to high range artist pencils. I would say definitely you could go with either or either of those. Me preferably, I would choose the Faber-Castell over the Bic, but I would say there is an option to do either or either there. If you can't do these, I would say you're still going to get good effects. You're still going to be able to do what you want, and it's good practice for when you can finally get the Prismacolor, Polychromos, Inktense, all of those, because I had to save up money to get those because otherwise I wouldn't have them. I have things like Luminance and stuff on my wish list, but obviously I can't get them. So take advantage of what you've got, I would say, and that's what I want to do with this channel, is make a mix of things so people aren't feeling like they have to have these artist quality pencils if they can't get them right now. Yes, I still plan on doing videos with the artist quality pencils. You can save up for them and use them, but it doesn't mean you can't still get good effects with the cheaper pencils. So overall, I guess in the end, for review purposes, I would say, honestly, I like all of them for different purposes. Like, for a fact that when I couldn't afford the Inktense Prismacolor Polychromos, I was using my Derwent Studio pencils, which I got on sale, and I was still getting really good effects out of that. Before I got Derwent Studio, I was using Faber-Castell or Bic Kids or any of those, and I was still getting good effects. So it just depends on your circumstances and what you can get, but either way, you can still get good effects out of all of them. It's just, I guess, the more expensive pencils are slightly better quality and slightly better in the way they lay down and the colour depth and stuff like that. But if you can't get those, you can still get good effects from these cheaper pencils. And so I would say definitely don't rule out the cheaper pencils, because as you can see here, yes, they may be slightly fainter, but you can still get very good effects out of them, and you can still get good use out of them. And it is, I guess, something that, shall we say, allows you to still be able to do what you want to do till you can afford to get the pencils you desire. So I would say I generally like all of them. If I had to do commission pieces, I would highly recommend Polychromos. For just colouring, I would recommend take advantage of whatever you've got, whatever you're able to use. Yes, there are differences. Yes, there are changes in the way they work, the way things lay down, the way they look, the way they blend. But take advantage of what you've got, because you can only use what you've got and do with what you've got, and you've got to make the best out of what you have. So I hope this helps anyway, and it's turned out slightly longer than I was intending, but yeah, and I will talk to you later, and I really hope this has helped you out. I probably will do another one in the future, say as I add to my pencil collection. But yeah, for what I've got here right now, I would say just take advantage of whatever you've got, because you can get good effects out of all of them if you put in the time and effort to learn the pencils. Take the chance on them, kind of thing. Just use what you're able to use and take advantage of those whilst you're saving up for those, and use them, shall we say, to improve your techniques and learn how to use things. Because I reckon in some ways probably using those cheaper pencils has actually allowed me to pick up the artist and higher quality pencils quicker, because I have had time practicing with using those. As someone said on, I think it was one of the ones where I showed the Faber-Castell Classic, and I think it's the image in here. Hang on, I'll just get it quickly. It was this orchid here, and this is an image I'm working on with Faber-Castell Classic pencils, just in my own time for fun, and people were actually surprised at the quality and depth of the colours that I was getting in that. So you can still do a good job even if you don't have those good artist pencils. That's why I'm saying don't rule any particular one out, and why I'm not choosing a favourite, because you can get good effects with any type, as is evidenced here. So yeah, I just reckon take advantage of what you've got and use what you've got. Yes, there are quality differences. Yes, there are not spatial differences, but yes, there are differences in the layout of the colour and how deep the colour is and how hard you have to press and all of that. But at the end of the day, it comes down to what you're able to get and what you're able to use, and you can get good effects out of those. So I really hope this has helped, and I will see you all next time, hopefully on better internet speed, which is quite exciting, because I'm hoping then I might be able to work out how to do live streams and stuff, which would be awesome. So yeah, I will see you all next time. Bye.